Alright, what we're going to be working on now is a larger bowl. This could either be for a mixing bowl, probably going to be around the range. I want it to be about 12 inches wide by 5 inches tall. In this case, maybe it could be for the fantasy bowl as well, where we build a bowl or throw a bowl and then build a landscape or a whimsical city inside the bowl. So first things first, some of you haven't thrown this big yet. We'll take a little bit more finesse, and I say finesse with emphasis because I don't want you to just throw with strength. I want you to really work on technique here. And so you want to set yourself up for success when you're throwing a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put this in the middle, pack it down just a little bit, then I'm going to spin it ever so slowly. So I'm going to spin it slowly and just make sure that it's almost practically centered already before I even start, just so it's not jerking me around all over the place, because when we throw 1 or 2 pounds, our body weight can easily compensate for that. And this one is about 5 1/4. So 5 1/4 pound of clay. So I push it in the middle, and it's basically semi-centered already. So now I'm going to get it going, and my first push, I want it to be down so that I can seal it to the wheel. So I'm going to push down on top. And again, this finesse. So the body mechanics we learn when we first start throwing are really important on bigger lumps of clay like this. So again, I don't want to be out here where I have no leverage. I want to be in with my elbow in. Okay? And I want to be able to use my body mechanics instead of having to use body weight. I have seen students go as far as to locking their feet in the poles behind them, all kinds of things. And you want to use body weight, that's okay, but I don't want you to have to strong arm the clay. So I'm going to push, using body weight, so kind of standing over it a little bit. And don't be afraid to use 2 hands if you need to on the sides. Here, I don't want to block the field of vision from the camera too much, but you can use 2 hands. Okay, and I did wedge this clay, but just for the sake of demonstration purposes, you want to cone up and cone back down. Okay, and I want to center this low. I don't care how big the piece is, I always center pretty low. So this is still a little too high. Again, body mechanics, elbows in. There's a lot of clay here, so the amount of water, I usually don't throw with too much water on centering, but this amount of clay, it's not really going to make a difference because it's only on the surface, on the outside. So now I'm centered, now I'm ready to open. This is where a lot of my students find that weight of clay in centering and opening is a little bit harder to handle. Just doling that line real quick. So you really want to use those body mechanics. So I'm going to be here, elbows into my body. I'm going to push down. If you feel that your thumb is a little too freewheeling or a little too loose, or you just don't have the strength, you can use what's called a viper grip, like this, going straight down. Again, keep your body locked in though. I find that my thumb is pretty good, pretty capable of doing pretty much any weight on the wheel. Okay, I'm going down. On heavier masses of clay like this too, it's hard to tell how deep you go. When I have 1 pound of clay, I don't even measure the bottom anymore because I just know. I've thrown so many mugs over the years that it's easy for me to tell. But on a bigger mass, like right now, I'm about 3/4 of an inch, so I know I need to go a little bit further. So I'm going to open a little further. Okay. Now I'm ready, I've gone down deep enough. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to pull towards my belly button. Very slowly but firm, again, using that body mechanics. Okay. Just get a little bit of moisture. Okay, we're going to open this thing really wide. Because in the end, we're going to be out here about 12 inches, so it's almost going to be the span of the wheel. getting a little off-centered, so I'm going to recenter. Okay, and then I'll continue. I'm going to double check my measurement too of the floor. Yeah, see, now we're about a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put a pretty deep foot on this, so 1/2 inch is good. Okay, and I'm still not wide enough, so I'm going to keep coming out here. Again, my elbows are locked into my body, and I'm pulling my thumb towards my belly button. So you can see I knocked it a little off center there as well. Bring it back to center by recentering. So now I want to focus on the floor of my bowl here. I'm out to where I think is far enough. And now I really want to compress or put pressure on the floor. This will help me not only level the floor, it'll get rid of that little hole I made in the bottom to measure the bottom, but it'll also compress the bottom so that I don't end up with an S crack. With a piece this wide, they do have a tendency to have an S crack in the bottom. And it's mostly from uneven drying. The side walls dry a little faster than the bottom that's still sitting on a wet batt. So I'm going to take a smooth rib as well and do even more compression. This will also, again, it'll help me level my floor out. So just slight pressure, I turn it the way the wheel's spinning. I'll take it from the middle. Get rid of that slip. And I'll take it to the outside. This also helps me contour the inside wall of my pot. When you throw a bowl, it doesn't matter what size it is, you want to focus more on the inside shaping. The outside shaping comes a lot from trimming. I'm just cleaning up a few wounds here. But yeah, most of the outside shaping, like I said, comes from trimming, so you don't really focus too much on that, but you don't want too thick of a bowl either. So I'm just going to double check my centering. I recenter. Got a little clump of clay there. I'm just cleaning my hands off. I don't like to slip on my hands too much because then I get clumps of clay like I just did there. So I'm going to have to center that piece or that clump of clay into my clay now. Alright, so now I'm ready to pull. So I've taught you a few tips or tricks on pulling, how to get a good crab claw, as they call it. So usually you're out here and you squeeze between the middle and thumb, pointer, and sponge. But I'm going to show you an even heavier duty pull here. So this pull is going to be between these fingers, my thumb here on the bottom, and then this hand is going to squeeze also into that thumb, and my pinky is going to level the top or compress the lip here. So I'm just going to scoot back and just press. Okay, and that'll set me up with a nice even wall, nice and level. Okay, just gets rid of some of that thickness at the very bottom. Now I'm ready to do regular pulls. Speed it up just a little bit. So now I'm going to really push down here. Squeeze. And carry that up. And then something this wide too, you want to make sure your wheel speed's not too fast. You could pull this out completely and it may flop on you. That centrifugal force can sometimes not do you some favors, but the speed of the wheel may pull your piece and collapse it. This one's, I don't think, big enough, especially not yet, but it is a possibility. So food for thought. Get some of the water out of here. So now I've just pulled straight up so far. Now I'm going to do a pull where I pull outward. Not quite a 45-degree angle, but close to that. So this pull, I'm really going to focus on the shape of the inside of my bowl. I don't want to really focus on the outside. It's just kind of keeping my shape on the outside. But I'm going to pull out this angle here, about a 35-degree angle. So I'm really going to push that clay in, and now I'm shaping the inside. I'm pulling at about a 40-degree angle or so. Okay. Once I get to the top, I'm going to compress that lip. Keep in mind, you want your lip to be somewhat thick while you're doing this, because if it's too thin and then you stretch it outward, it'll crack or split your lip. It'll be too thin because you're going to be losing clay as you go out there, as you start to spread it out. So this next pull is more or less just a shaping pull. I'll be shaping the inside as well as a little bit on the outside, just kind of at the top part. So I'll do this pull. I'll be shaping the inside. I want it nice and concave. So concaved as I come up, but also the outside, I kind of want to bring that lip. It's good where it's at, but I'm going to go round down here on the inside and then bring it back up so that I don't have a lip that's folded outward. If this is for the fantasy bowl, you're going to want it to be a little wider, a little more open, so that you can see inside and also to get your hands inside to be able to build. So I barely want any water at this point, just a little bit so my hands slide and they don't just skip and bounce. But again, I'm going to round that inside as I pull. And then right here, I'm going to straighten out and come straight up. So I got a little bit of a block there, so I'm going to fix that. And now at this point I can thin my lip because I'm out as far as I need to go. I don't want it too thin because I don't want it to chip. Okay, then I go back with my smooth rib. And now I'm going to use the roundness of this just to double check and make sure that my bowl's nice and contoured. So going up and down. Then I'm going to take my sponge and just kind of clean up those lines from the smooth rib. Double checking my compression at the bottom, make sure I don't get any S cracks. And again, that was about 5 1/4 pounds. We want about 5 inches in height and at least 12 inches in width. And then it would be time just for procurement, and I'd just be going in, making sure that little concave on the inside is nice and clean. Make sure my lip's nice and clean so it's easy to trim. And that is a large bowl for either a mixing bowl, salad bowl, or a fantasy bowl. Trimming the bottom of this, I usually use the popsicle stick side here underneath. Okay. Then, just to make it easy to get off the next day, I use the blade side just to make a line underneath right there. Okay, and that way the cutting wire has a place to sit and can cut it off pretty easily. But it will need some drying time. You don't want to pull this off the wheel right away.